Hi everyone, Wurundjeri, welcome to Healesville Sanctuary. My name's Donna Patterson. I'm the Events and Tourism Coordinator here on site, and I'm here today with a very good friend of mine, Murrundindi, and we're going to be doing a bit of a walk through the sanctuary just to have a look at what's been happening while we've been closed and check out our beautiful gardens here. So welcome Murrundindi.
Thanks, Donna.
I do want to acknowledge that we are standing here on Wurundjeri country, and I want to acknowledge the Wurundjeri people as the traditional owners of this land, and I want to give my best wishes to their elders past, present and emerging. So
Thanks.
welcome Murrundindi, Wurundjeri.
Thanks, Donna. So guys, my name Murrundindi, that means a home up in the mountain. My mother, she was born on the Healesville Sanctuary ground on the Gardenia Reserve. She was the last female born here, and her culture was passed down to me. So here I am today talking about my culture. And behind us here we have Bunjil the eagle. Bunjil is the creator of our land. Bunjil came from a falling star, and the star fell from the sky. Then Bunjil formed from the star, and he blew air from his beak and created the earth. He scratched in the soil, trees and plants started to grow. Then he took off and flew around, and he saw a small branch laying on the ground. He swooped on the small branch from the managum and shook the managum branch and created his brother Mindy the snake. Mindy the snake was the law of the land, and Bunjil and Mindy came together and created other animals. The last animal what was created was Pelliam the bat. Pelliam the bat flew upon the managum tree, and his claws stuck in the tree and slid down the tree, and the bark fell from the tree, and it created the first human, and his name was Coolin. So Coolin was created. So Pelliam the bat jumped on a log floating down the Birrong, the river, calling all the animals to come in. He was coming towards Wurundjeri, the falls there, the waterfall, and he was calling for all the animals, and he saw a young sapling floating downstream. He stuck the sapling into the bottom of the Yarra River, and all the mud started to rise, and there was a figure of a human which they dragged up onto the bank of the river, and Bunjil blew air upon it and created Lubra, the first woman. So Coolin and Lubra came together as man and wife. Then Bunjil passed away, and he was buried on just over the back here, behind the Healesville Hospital. That's where we've got the sacred mountain. And thousands of years later, the mountain rose, and his spirit then went back up into the sky, back up into the star. And that star is called Dara, but the European people call it Altar.
And Murrundindi, you can still see the form of Bunjil in the mountains, can't you?
You see the form. If you go to the animal hospital and look at the back of you can see the form of the eagle. Yeah. But that star, Dara, that comes out early spring, and it travels across the sky to the north sky, and then to the south sky. Then it comes out every year, early spring.
So we could keep our eyes up for it now.
It's out now at the moment. Yeah.
Well, Murrundindi, shall we take a little bit of a wander through the sanctuary now and just see what our gardens are doing?
Yep. Well, over here we've got the grass tree. You can flake that off, that flakes off, and that was used as glue.
Oh wow.
So you'd melt it down on a rock around your campfire, and that was what they'd use to stick the tips of the spears together. The stem coming down into the grass tree here, that stem was used as the base of your fire stick.
Oh right.
So you use the Austral mulberry, and that's the base. You split that open and you rub down into it.
And that's where the fire starts.
That's where the fire starts. Yeah.
Usually would have your didgeridoo playing, we could hear it usually. Here's one of our emus. I'm not sure if it's flinty or drum, I get them mixed up.
With the emu feathers were used around the dance belts, around their waist.
Lap?
Yeah. Now you have your lap on.
Yes.
Then you make a dance belt from kangaroo skin that goes around your waist, and the emu feathers hang off the dance belt.
Amazing.
And when the elders do pass on,
well, here's Drum, you can hear him.
We'd make a necklace of emu feathers and put it around the person who passed on to give them a safe journey.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So the feathers were used on a dance belt, then around the neck when someone passed away. And we call the emu Burrumal. Burrumal.
Okay.
Very good eating too.
And they can't walk backwards, can they, an emu?
Emu can't go backwards.
Pretty special to be here when there's
for sure.
no visitors, even though that is very sad.
Oh, this is a good one here to talk about.
What's
Dianella, this is called.
Is it flax?
Yeah, it's a flax, but this gets a little purple fruit on it, and the purple fruit gets up about as big as your fingernail. And William Barrack, who was my great uncle, he would squash that with his white clay, and you get a purple clay. That's where that colour comes from.
Amazing.
Purple clay. Then they'd use the flax here for weaving baskets. And also this one, the lamandra. The lamandra was used for weaving baskets. And down the bottom, if we pulled out a piece down the bottom, the root system, you can chew on it and eat it. Yeah.
What does it taste like?
It tastes very similar to celery.
Oh, celery.
Yeah, celery.
Nice.
Yeah.
Fresh.
Fresh and full of vitamins.
Amazing.
Yeah. So this is the hot gardenia here. It's got the little yellow flower on it. And the little yellow flower, if my people were travelling and they had babies and you're travelling, need tribal boundaries, what my people would do, the mother would chew this up and she'd give it the baby to swallow. Then it would put the baby to sleep. So it was used as a sleeping medicine.
And that was to keep the child quiet while they were near the boundary to
while
avoid
they need the
any
boundaries.
kind of...
Yep, while they need the boundaries. And behind here, this one here, it's very prickly. That's called a prickly currant. That comes out in a little red berry at Christmas time. And the little red berry is probably about half the size as your little fingernail, and it's full of vitamin C. This is called the Corunduk bush. The Corunduk bush was also known as the Christmas bush, and the mint bush.
It has flowers?
It gets a white flower on it at Christmas time. Generally gets a flower on it about a week before Christmas Day. And the leaf was used for cooking. So if you tear the leaf open and smell it, it's got a mint flavour.
Hard to smell from a nice bit.
Yeah. So what they do with that, they put cuts into kangaroo meat and put the leaves in the meat and put some mint flavour right through the meat.
Very gourmet.
Yeah.
Well, Dindy, did you want to talk about
William Barrack?
William Barrack?
Yeah. So William Barrack, he was my great uncle. His father Babbagin, he signed the John Batman Treaty in 1835. Now Babbagin, he had a son, Barrack, and he had a daughter, Borack. Barrack married, he had one son, David, but David lost his life at around about the age of 12. He died of smallpox. But his sister, Borat, who was my great-great-grandmother, her son's name was Wandoon, and the English gave him the name of Robert Wandon. So Robert Wandon was my great-grandfather. So, but Barrack, he's seen the first English people to arrive here. He was only a little boy.
Isn't that amazing?
They said he was probably around about the age of 8, and his father was the one who signed the treaty.
And they walked all the way into Parliament, didn't they, to get that treaty signed?
To get the treaty signed.
Yeah.
But the Wurundjeri people, they come from Lake Eildon, right down through the Healesville area.
Yeah.
From Healesville, right down to Wonthaggi. From Wonthaggi up to Berwick. This side of the sand quarries at Cranbourne. From Cranbourne they walked across to Mordialloc and intermarried into the Bunurong people. So the Bunurong then went back towards Wilson's Prom. Wurundjeri people then went down towards Werribee River. So they intermarried into the Coorong people. Then on the other side of Geelong there was another group down there called Weatherong. And the Weatherong went from Geelong down to Colac.
And were these all Kulin nations?
Kulin Nation, yeah. Then Wurundjeri people then went up as far as Bacchus Marsh and intermarried into the Yadjarong.
Okay.
Then from Bacchus Marsh they went across to Wood End. They went from Wood End to the Yea River and intermarried into the Tungarong. So the Tungarong was on the other side of the Yea River.
Okay.
Then went up to Lake Eildon. So within that boundary was Wurundjeri country.
And all of this moving around, was this to find food or to follow?
They'd find food, they'd go, the old people used to say, well, we're going walkabout. And they'd find the seasons of food changing because you're up high here, then you're going down low, so different times of the year the different foods will come out. yeah.
So they'd have to follow to
Follow
find
the
what was
season.
in season.
Yeah, yeah. And
Okay.
also what they do, they'd leave a couple of young warriors behind, and they'd set fire to the bush and they'd backburn the bush.
Okay, so a bit of cultural burning.
Cultural burning.
Yeah.
And that hasn't been done, you know, for a couple, 250, 300 years now. And there's so much undergrowth out there.
I think we're all learning about the importance of that now.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
If the English had have listened to the Aboriginal people when they first arrived here about the cultural burning, they wouldn't have all those problems that they're having.
Some interesting plants over here. Was there
Okay.
this one here? Is this one
This one
important because
Yeah.
there was grubs in it?
here,
Is that?
this one here is a wattle tree. Now, if you look up where that branch is with a few leaves on, then you go up, there's another branch coming out on the left-hand side, and there's a couple of holes there. So they're what they call a wattle grub. The wattle grub's about as fat as my finger. What we do, we look for a little stick with a little, where it's been broken with a little piece on the end of it, like a small branch. Put a little, break that a little bit, like that. So you've got a hook on it.
Oh, right.
So you poke that in the hole, then what you do, you twist it around like that, and you pull the grub out. Yeah.
And how would you eat the grub? cook them, or
You
just
just
eat
put them on the coals of fire and cook them and eat them.
Wow.
But I remember my grandmother, she'd just pick them up out of the tree and just swallow them.
Just swallow them.
swallow
Because
them.
it's good protein.
Protein, full
Yeah.
of protein, yeah, full of
Yep.
protein. And
I
has a
imagine they'd taste kind of, I don't know, I'm trying to imagine the taste
nutty,
of them.
a nutty flavour.
I would think they would taste nutty, yeah.
Nutty,
So like
yeah.
creamy.
Creamy, nutty.
Mm.
I've never eaten them.
Yeah.
I couldn't eat them. Over here you can see the banksy is growing. These,
That's this one?
yeah, these blooms here.
Yeah.
That's in the morning, first thing in the morning, that would be full of nectar. And if you tap that on your hand now, I don't think you think, oh yeah.
Oh yeah, look at that.
Yeah, look at the nectar in that. Can you see the nectar in here? That? Well, what my people would do, before they go to bed at night time, they get maybe half a dozen of these blooms, take them off, and they soak them in their little wooden bowl called Tanook, and with water. Wake up in the morning, they've got a sweet drink, got a cordial to drink.
Nice.
Yeah,
It's a
very
nice
nice.
change from water.
Yeah.
Yeah, lovely. Okay, Murrundindi.
Okay.
It's a very special tree.
Yep. So here we've got a tree that's a managum tree, and you can see the carving what's been taken away from the tree. That carving, the point on it, that would have been on the ground when they carved that. Then what they do, they carve up as high as they can go. Then what they do, they get a young sapling about that thick in diameter, and they make a chisel on the end of it. And they get 3 of them, and one on either side and one in the middle, and they just keep pushing it up the tree, and the bark will just peel off and fall
So
off.
how thick is the bark?
The bark, well, the bark would be about that thick.
Okay.
Then what they do, they soak it in the creek, because the Badger Creek used to come up on the and left on the bottom of that.
We actually can hear the creek now.
You can hear the creek now, yeah. But they soak it in the creek, and that shrinks the wood for about a week. Then they pull it out of the creek, and they make tripods. The tripods like that, then they push the bark into it, and that's where you get the shape. So this canoe here was made probably about 10 years ago, and this is not a managum, this is candlebark. So the candlebark are up higher. So the candlebark are up at Warburton. So this was made up at Warburton by my younger brother and his son. And this one here was carved with stone axe and stone hammer. This one was carved with a steel axe and chainsaw. And as you can see around here, we've got stringy bark, the rope on it
Oh wow.
to hold it together, that stringy bark.
Amazing.
And you put the supports in the middle to hold it up. But see, they'd only have 1 or 2 people in there, and it was more to get across the floodplains, because this time of the year, the creek would be up where we're standing, because it's dammed up at the Badger Creek weir. It's not up.
Okay.
Over here we have the kangaroo apple growing. So they call it kangaroo apple because of the leaf.
There's some fruit. You got
There's some
fruit
fruit
there?
here growing. And the fruit comes out yellow. And when the fruit is yellow, Barrack would also use the dye. That's where you got the yellow.
Wow.
Then it comes out orange. You see the orange in here.
And the fruit to eat, you don't eat
When
it
it
at
was
certain
tomato
times?
red,
Yeah.
it's about as big as your thumbnail. And if it's tomato red and squashy, you can eat it. But also when it was orange, it was used as a female contraception. The female could eat that and not have any children.
Mm.
And this comes out all year round at different times of the year. So they always have plenty of supply of it. Yeah.
Mm.
This time of the year they wouldn't be up here. This time of the year, they'd probably be over in the Bacchus Marsh this time of the year. Yeah.
Right.
Also over here we've got what we call a blanket leaf.
This one's very essential, yes?
Oh yeah, you need the blanket leaf. So the blanket leaf, if you look underneath the leaf,
It's very, very soft, isn't
very
it?
soft.
Yeah.
So this is what they'd use as a toilet paper, a toilet leaf. And also there's a bird called a mistletoe bird.
Yes.
When you see blanket leaf around, you know you got mistletoe birds.
Oh.
Because what the mistletoe bird does, he gets his little beak in here, and he peels that off, and when that's all peeled off, it's like a skeleton, you can see through it.
Oh, I wonder if there's any here that they've done.
No, you
No?
wouldn't get anything in here because of the noise.
Oh, okay.
More in the bush.
Right.
Out in the back, the corridor you can get them. And you can see the veins in the leaf.
Mm. And they just take out all the fluff.
They just take all the fluff off it, and the mistletoe bird's nest is probably about that long,
Yeah.
and it's like a sock. It's white,
And cosy.
cosy. We found a mistletoe nest birds were nesting. The mistletoe birds were nesting over at the Birds of Prey about 5 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Because
And
they're rare to see, yeah?
very rare to see, yeah.
Mm.
So this here is called kunzia, and the kunzia was used for making spears. If you go in there, and you can see how tall and thin they are in the centre there, because there's an overcover canopy of plants and that, so they grow very straight. They've got to go straight to the light. See that one there, that big branch in there, see how straight that one is? That's a good
Yeah.
hunting spear.
Amazing. I
Hunting
see the
spear.
one.
Yeah, that's kunzia. It's very hard wood, but here we've got a fork. We've got a fork here. So what we do, we break that off there, break that off there. We get our stone axe or stone flint, and we sharpen points on that. And remember I showed you the grass tree glue at the front?
Yes.
We'd have that on our rock, melt it down, then we'd dip that in, and that hardens the end of the spear.
Ah, and
So
so
that
you
would-
use that for
That
fishing?
that'd be a good fishing spear. And what we do here, see how you got a few buckles in it? By heating the wood up, we can bring it back,
Oh, you can straighten it up
straighten
a
it
bit.
off. Yeah.
So
that-
these would also be used maybe without the fork for
without
throwing?
the fork for hunting spear, for hunting.
And so
yeah.
the straightness is really important if you're going to throw it, yeah?
Yeah. And what they do, they have a flat piece of wood about this long. It'll be flat. Then they have a little twig coming out on an angle, and we put a little hole in the end of it. Put that in there, and it gives you an extension arm. A catapult it out.
Ah, to throw.
To throw it. Catapult it out.
Amazing.
Yeah. This here.
So you're never far from something useful, are you?
No, we can always use everything what's around. It's all native. So what we do, we clean it up. All right. Now we break that off here. There we go. Okay. Now that there is your paintbrush.
And what would you paint with that?
You'd paint your body.
Right.
So you put that in the clay and you flick that all over your body.
So with something like you were talking about the indigo plant earlier with
Yep.
the colour
Yep.
and also the apple, kangaroo
yep.
apple, would you use those colours on
Use
your body
those.
or is it just normal clay?
We'd use, the elders would wear white
Yeah.
and children don't wear white.
Okay.
They'd wear the orange, the red,
Right.
but they could wear red on their face and white dots on the red.
And the red would come from the kangaroo apple?
Kangaroo apple, yeah.
Mm.
But out at Corunduk we had white clay and there's a yellow clay out there.
And just dig it up, yeah?
Dig it up out of the ground. Yeah,
Amazing.
yeah.
Isn't that incredible?
So that was used as a paintbrush.
And did they paint anything else? Like I know William Barrack did these beautiful paintings.
Now, William Barrack was the only artist
Yeah.
of the Wurundjeri people that I know of. But William Barrack, when he'd do his art, he'd use sticks.
Mm.
He'd get the end of a stick and he'd chew on the end of it and make it soft
Yeah, yeah.
as a paintbrush. He'd use that.
Isn't that incredible?
Yeah, yeah. You can see how
But
you've got,
this is
see that vine going across here? This is the clematis vine, here, growing,
Yep.
with the flower on. Now, the vines, you can see it through in here, see the thick vine through here?
Yep. You be careful, Dindy.
Yeah, this vine here. See that vine there? That
Yep.
vine there, that twine's down here. There it is there, let's follow it down. There it is in there.
Yeah,
Now,
wow.
if we dig that vine out down the bottom, on the bottom of that, there's nodules, and the nodules are about as big as your thumbnail, and you can put them on the coals to fry and cook them and eat them. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. It's like a crisp potato.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Now see that's kunzea. I've never seen a mistletoe growing off a kunzea.
Where are we looking?
Straight through there. See how that mistletoe is growing? Here, straight. See those leaves hanging down? They're
Yes,
hanging down.
yeah.
That's a mistletoe. So what happens? The mistletoe bird, after it eats, when the mistletoe bird does its poo, the poo is very, very sticky, and it sticks to its backside.
Ah,
So what it does, it wipes its backside
on the
on
branch.
the branch, and comes off on the branch.
So this is like a hybrid. This is
Yeah.
a kunzea with it's got the mistletoe.
Growing. I've never
Very
seen a
cool.
mistletoe growing like that on a kunzea. Generally,
Wow.
mistletoe will grow on the gum trees. Yeah. So this is called blackwood, and the blackwood leaf. What we do, we pick a few leaves.
Can I pick some leaves?
Yeah, pick some leaves.
Do I have to say anything to the plant before I take its leaves? Is that
You could say sorry that we're taking a few of your leaves if you
okay?
like.
Yeah.
Then we put some water and we rub our hands together. And by rubbing it together like that, it suds up like a soap.
Oh wow.
It suds up like a soap. But you've got to have water
Yeah.
to get the
Doesn't
soap.
work without the water.
No, it's got to have the water going. So that's called blackwood. But it's got a nice smell.
It does have a beautiful. I can actually smell that.
You can
Yeah.
smell that,
It's
yeah.
incredible.
Yeah.
So
And
that'll lather up like soap.
That'll lather up like soap. But not only that, it's good for any sort of eczema and any sort of skin diseases. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, blackwood.
Could you use this also for like insect repellent, or if you got a bite or a sting?
No, no. The best thing for insects or sting is the soft bracken fern. So the soft bracken fern, there's one stem that comes out of the ground, and it's got a root system, probably about as fat as my finger, and the stem comes up. So you get the root system out, and you split the root system and squeeze it and twist it around, and you get moisture out of it. And that was good for bites. Good for any sort of bites, any sort of cuts.
Okay, helps you
It's
heal.
it's what they call a antihistamine.
Terrific.
But I tell you, when I was up here over the Christmas holidays, I got a feed of strawberries, wild strawberries. I don't think they'll be out now, but I can show you the vines, what they look like. If you
Yeah.
want to see the wild strawberries.
Yeah, let's go and see the
So
wild
I'll go and see
strawberry.
the wild strawberries over here.
Oh, I can see. Oh, over here, there's a nice patch over here.
So these are wild strawberry. Here we are, look, there's a wild strawberry here growing. See the fruit here, look. The fruit's just starting to come out. Now that fruit is probably about half the size as your little fingernail, and you can see all the wild strawberries growing right through here.
Delicious. And are they quite sweet?
Oh, very sweet,
Yeah.
but very crisp when you eat them.
What
The-
texture? They've got a
texture is-
firm texture.
Firm texture. They're not like the European strawberries. So these are the native strawberries, and this is the only place I've seen them growing. So this here is indigo. This is the plant indigo. This is what we call the fish bait one.
Okay.
So indigo, we'd make a pulp out of that. We'd pick all these flowers off and crush them on a rock. Then light a campfire, put kangaroo droppings on it, Then when we see little bubbles starting to come from the bottom of the water, you throw the pulp into the water and it puts the fish to sleep. By the time they get to the top, they're sleeping. They just go on the side and just walk in and pick them up.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So that's instead of using a spear
Instead
or
of
a
using
net?
a spear or a net or anything like that, yeah.
That sounds pretty
There you
easy.
go. Yeah.
Tell me, why do you need kangaroo droppings on the fire? What does that do?
The kangaroo drop in smell and smoke,
Okay.
and that attracts the eel and the blackfish.
Ah, so that's part of the process.
Of catching them. So they're very sensitive, the eel and the blackfish. And that's for catching them.
And they're in Badger Creek.
Badger Creek, yep.
Ah.
Yep. Badger Creek, right through Badger Creek, right through the sanctuary ground. And also, Badger Creek comes into the Watts River up the road here.
Yep.
So in the Watts, we used to go up there and catch them. See the big growth up on the tree? That big growth, we call that Tanook. Tanook is wooden bowl.
Ah.
So what they do, they'd get that clematis vine.
Yeah.
The clematis vine is very thick, about as thick as my finger.
Yeah.
They tie it around their waist, they go on an angle and pull themselves up the tree, and they get their stone axe and chip that off. And it's a growth, so it's dead wood. Then they'd holler it out, and that's a water bowl, a water vessel to carry their water in.
And then they could make their sweet water.
Make their
With the banksia. We call this gunya. Yes.
Now, if you look the way it's made, it's open at the front.
Yeah.
Right? So if it's raining and windy, and the wind and rain's coming this way, there's 3 poles, one at the back and 2 at the front.
Mhm.
You get 3 men, 1 on each pole. You can pick it up and move it around.
So they just change the
Change
direction
it
for shelter.
the angle they want.
So why would they not build another side to it? So like a tent.
It was only just a lean-to
Okay.
to camp in under at night.
Right.
And a lot of Aboriginal people throughout Australia, they didn't build them up into a point. They built them only very low, so they just get under the bark.
And the sort of bark, like, is this paper bark?
This is paper bark. We've got paper bark here. We've got black wattle on this side here,
Yep.
and there's bark from the trees. And you know, they'd come back and stay in this. This will last for a couple of years.
And I guess you could have a fire quite.
They'd have a fire at the front
Out
here,
the front?
burning. Yeah. Well, you know how we had the native strawberry?
Yes.
This is the native raspberry.
Right.
So if you come down here around Christmas time, this is full of raspberries.
Wow.
And the raspberry's the same size as the strawberry. Very small, about
Smaller
half the
than
size.
the European.
Yeah,
Yep.
small, about half the size of your little fingernail,
Mhm.
and it's full of raspberries, native raspberries.
And they have that same bright red colour.
Bright red
Yeah.
and very crisp, very firm fruit.
Yeah.
Very firm.
Delicious.
People see it and they think it's blackberries, and they say, "Why don't you take the blackberries out?" I said, "No, it's a native raspberry."
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it does look different to a blackberry.
Blackberry. It's a smaller leaf.
But usually a raspberry would be on a cane rather
Cane,
than
yeah.
a sort of the
Yeah.
creepery type thing.
So it's grown through here, and here's some out here growing.
Mm.
Very healthy, the green,
Yeah.
very healthy looking.
Delicious. I have to
Yeah.
keep my eye out
Keep
for
your
that.
hope. Christmas time's the time they'll come out, native raspberries.
Lovely.
Here we have the tree fern, and you can see the curly bits on the end here. We take them off and we put them on the coals of the fire and we can cook them and eat them.
And they're the ones that taste nutty.
Very nutty flavour.
Yeah, lovely.
Very nutty flavour.
So would you pick them? Because usually they start very
Yeah,
tight down the bottom.
Yeah, you pick them down the bottom.
Okay.
You don't pick them out when they're spread out like that. You wait down the bottom and you get them down the bottom.
Okay.
Yeah.
And just on the fire.
On the fire, on the coals of the fire, and cook them. Beautiful.
Lovely.
Now, this here is known as Austral mulberry. Now, the Austral mulberry has got a serrated edge. See a little serrated edge there? Very similar to the lemon myrtle. And so this leaf, the English or the Aboriginal people taken it, and they didn't know what they were using it for. They've taken branches of the tree. They didn't know what they were using it for. So it's a very similar leaf to what we call gingram. Now gingram is a native tea, And we get that right up in the top of the mountain.
Right.
And so the English seen the Aboriginal people using this, the jingrum leaf, and they got confused. They used this for tea. You drink this for tea, very poison.
Oh.
They got very, very sick.
And what's this called again?
This is called Austral mulberry.
Right.
But the one my people would use is called jingrum. It only grows up at Tulagi, up in the mountains.
So no tea
No
for this?
tea out of this one. But this was your main drill for your fire stick. See how smooth the branches are?
Oh, this is from the mulberry here,
This is
one.
the mulberry here, Austral mulberry. But if you look down here, the branches come off the tree. You see the core in the tree here? Look.
Is
There's
this the
the
one
core.
here too, where this
That's
hole
it.
is?
Yep, that's it. So the core goes right through this tree. And what we use this for, we use that, if you get a nice straight one, like, look, see that piece from there to there?
Yep.
Nice and straight. Well, there's a nice straight one in there.
Yep.
But you've got to wait for it to dry out, and you get that core. Then you rub down into the grass tree stem, split it open, rub down into it, and this is the piece what will catch on fire, is the core in the middle here.
Right. Isn't that amazing?
Once that starts burning, that'll burn up the stick.
Okay.
So what you got to do, you can't use that same bottom. So what you got to do, you got to rub it on the rocks until you see the core coming out of it.
Right.
When you see the core, you can start rubbing again.
And so this is that technique?
That's the technique of rubbing down.
Right.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
So this is Badger Creek.
This is Badger Creek. Yep.
Platypus?
Platypus.
Plenty in Badger Creek.
Plentiful platypus in between the Badger Creek and the Yarra River downstream. Yep.
Plenty of eels.
Eel, blackfish.
So we know how to catch the eel with the indigo.
Indigo, yep.
We need to make the canoe
The canoe.
out of the manna gum.
Yep.
Yeah?
Yep. We also get yabbies in here and freshwater crayfish.
Ooh, yum.
The
That sounds
freshwater
good.
crayfish are black.
Okay.
Yeah, very dark.
Do they
shell.
change colour do they change colour when you cook them?
When you cook them, they go red.
Okay.
Yeah. Downstream, there's quite a few near the bush hut.
Yes.
You get the yabbies and also the crayfish.
Okay.
Downstream, yeah. Not so much around this area.
So Murrundindi, thank you so much for coming up today and coming back to the sanctuary and sharing all of these amazing cultural secrets with us. It's just so fascinating the amount of resources that are available out there. So thank you very much.
My
And
pleasure.
of course you're all at the sanctuary usually when we're open. You would be here on a Sunday.
I'm here Sundays, school holidays and public holidays.
Yeah.
I play didgeridoo, throw boomerangs, let the tourists have a go throwing a boomerang,
Yeah.
weather permitting, and talk about my culture, and if anyone wants to ask any questions, I'm here to answer questions.
So
For
great.
sure.
Yep. So thank you again, and of course in the meantime, while we're closed, if people wanted to visit the website zoo.org.au, and there's lots of information on there about when we're going to open, and also if they wanted to see the live streams of the animals or any keeper talks, and of course we're missing our members and visitors so much.
For sure.
I think that's a good sign off. Thank you,
Thank you.
Murrundindi, and we don't say goodbye, we say
Triggin in.
Triggin in.
Till the next time we meet again.
Triggin in.
Triggin in.
See you at the sanctuary soon.